Welcome to Sex with Rebecca, a show geared towards relationships and sexuality that'll help you enjoy your relationships more than you ever thought possible. So send us your difficult questions and we'll bring you expert answers unlike anywhere else. On tonight's show, we'll be discussing slut shaming, answering an email on andropause, and giving you some hot bedroom tips to keep the fires burning. Let's begin with a discussion on slut shaming with a very special guest, Jennifer Lieberman. Jennifer has interviewed over 100 women on the subject matter. Her award-winning solo show, Year of the Slut, is a sex-positive feminist piece that encourages women to embrace their sexuality, and her new film is being showcased at Cannes Film Festival in May. Congratulations and welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. It's so nice to be back.
And you're in LA, so this was so fortunate. You were meant to come to our show and talk about something so important. Jennifer, we've come a long way in the last few decades in many ways, yet slut shaming is still so prevalent in our society. Why do you think that is?
Well, Rebecca, I think the answer is twofold. First is the obvious. A guy can shoot a load and run when a woman is left with the responsibilities and the repercussions. And I think the other answer is that it's a way for men to control women and keep us in our place.
So you think that a lot of it is political, it's about, I guess posturing?
Definitely, and I think society has been structured in a certain way over decades, centuries.
Millennia, absolutely.
To keep women in a certain role.
And keep that role going.
Exactly.
Well, the media certainly doesn't help, except for us here at Sex with Rebecca. We're very sex positive. Yay! But the media doesn't help because it seems to draw a clear-cut line between a respectable woman, so to speak, and a promiscuous woman. But like you, I sort of have a problem with those labels or titles or whatever you want to call them. So how do you think that the disconnect between the two can be reconciled so we can embrace both sides of ourselves?
Well, I think we need to discuss how women are sexual beings, just as much as men are. We have just as many hormones running through our bodies, and we might not be turned on in the same way or by the same things, but we are pushed to procreate, and our wiring is just as strong as a man's wiring when it comes to sexuality. So women are constantly fighting for equal rights and to be treated equally as men. I think this is a good place to start.
Absolutely. And one of the things that people forget is that the female clitoris is the only body part that's designed in nature, that's designed strictly for pleasure. So we were meant to be pleasured. And even the way our anatomy is, it's like, take your time, discover it, and like a rose, kind of coax it up. So it's meant for pleasure and an investment. So I'm really glad you said that. Now, a lot of this stuff, of course, hinges upon deeply ingrained gender stereotypes that you alluded to. And again, they've taken centuries and centuries for men and women to kind of move past. How can we as a society move towards a more sex-positive dialogue for both genders?
Well, we need to start a dialogue in the first place, and we need to start addressing sexuality as something that's natural and normal, not something that's dirty and shameful, the way especially Western society considers it. And we also have to understand that women are powerful, men are sensitive. And as long as we can encourage the obvious that we're all multifaceted, then we can come to a reconciliation.
I think that's brilliant because as a therapist, I see those empowered women and I see a lot of sensitive men, and they seem to get a bad rap. Men seem to get a bad rap because not all men are like that. Not all men are misogynistic. In fact, more men are not. So I'm really glad that we're having this open discussion. Jennifer, how does social media fit into all of this? As in, what role do you think social media plays in breaking or reinforcing those gender stereotypes?
Well, yeah, I think social media is very confused right now. I think women say one thing to push their feminist agenda along, but at the same time, they're posting provocative photos objectifying themselves to get more followers. So it's getting really muddled in a time that's calling for clarity.
Yeah, it's getting very, very confusing. those are really, really amazing, thought-provoking comments. Do you have any quick suggestions on how we can approach social media, since that's where everything turns into an epidemic, how we can approach it so we can bring that, that equality and bring those two sides for the genders, the sensitivity and the sexuality closer together?
Well, definitely. First of all, I definitely think that a feminist can be sexy, and for some reason in social media, there's this kind of thank you. There's a kind of disconnect between feminism and sexuality. A lot of these predominant feminists kind of take an asexual stance, whereas Madonna, in her Billboard speech in 2016, was talking about how she's a bad feminist because she's a feminist that pushes along female sexuality.
Right.
So I think that there's a connection between feminism and sexuality, not a disconnect. And if we can bring those together without objectifying ourselves, then we'll get a little closer.
Absolutely. I think it goes back to the late 60s and early 70s when being a feminist sort of meant that, okay, we're just sort of going into the separate area and we're not trusting men. But some of the most sexual women that I know are feminists. And I mean, look at Beyonce. Yes. She's sexy, she's hot, and she's a feminist. And she's even said that if I want to present myself sexually, I should have the right to do that. But I don't want to be objectified. But then, you know, you go into social media, but some people, even the way they post their pictures, it's not a powerful position that I'm sensual, I'm sexual. It's more of a provocative picture to get the followers.
Exactly.
And that's where the confusion happens.
And that's the thing. I don't think you have to be naked to be sexy. I think I'm pretty covered up right now, minus minus the little cleavage.
So, yeah.
But you don't need to be scantily clad in order to exude sexuality.
Absolutely, and therein lies the difference between sensuality and sexuality.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Lots of good stuff. When we return, we'll be talking about the Me Too movement, among other things. So do stick around for that. Lots ahead. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca, a show where we bring you expert advice on important matters to help your relationships be more intimate, exciting, and emotionally fulfilling. We've been discussing slut shaming with our very special guest, Jennifer Lieberman, who tackles such issues head on. Jennifer, women are constantly judged for their looks. Yet, if they dare do anything to enhance those looks, they're seen as shallow or superficial. Or heaven forbid, if they flaunt their sexuality, they're often shamed. It's quite the catch-22, isn't it? So can you please comment on that next?
Yes, I think in this area, this is where women are our own worst enemy.
Absolutely.
Because women tend to criticize other women more than men criticize us. If you're too skinny or too fat, you're too pretty or you're not pretty enough. And it doesn't matter where you fall on the spectrum, you're going to get some sort of criticism from other women. And this plays into how deeply insecure women are about their own situation, because we try to live up to this impossible standard that the media puts out. And it plays on our jealousy and our envy.
And the judgment is harsh. I actually have people writing and telling me how bad I look on TV. And I sort of feel bad for the person who's writing, because I'm thinking, if you're judging others, you must be holding very high standards of judgment for yourself. And how painful is that? Because we should be able to be comfortable in our skin. So very well put. How can women work past that and embrace their sexuality, like past that insecurity, the jealousy, the judgment, and just embrace their sexuality?
Well, I think sexuality and beauty all have to do with the energy that comes inside of us.
Absolutely.
It's not about how we're packaged. There are so many fierce, beautiful women that don't live up to that perfect media standard, and it has to do with their confidence and standing in their power.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. My husband, he was joking around. He was pretending to be a model, and he went expressionless. And like this, and he walked, and he was just saying that, you know, that's not sexy. And yet we know some women who absolutely don't meet the criteria, but are absolutely sensual, because it's about being comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, I think Rebel Wilson from the Pitch Perfect trilogy is a perfect example of that. She's a plus size woman, but she has so much confidence. She exudes this power that you can't help find her alluring.
And I love Helen Mirren, how sexy she, and she's like in her 70s. So the ageist and all those, I think those numbers, they're there sort of to make us feel bad. If you quantify it, then we can let people feel that, okay, I don't fit. And I think that's what it's all about. Now, as more and more women try to do that, along with taking a stance against being sexualized or undermined, do you feel that those mores are maybe starting to change a little?
I think they are. Definitely. We're seeing more different shapes and sizes of women in ad campaigns, like in the Dove campaign. We're seeing more active women who are athletic, which shows us as being powerful as opposed to weak and submissive. So strong women are coming up more in the media. We have more role models of strong female women, like in Wonder Woman, Black Panther. We've got irreverent female comedians like Tiffany Haddish and Amy Schumer, who are real trailblazers talking about women's sexuality unabashedly, but we still need to do better.
Yes, I agree. But at least the doors have opened up and more people are coming forward to do that. Speaking of which, let's talk about the Me Too and Time's Up movements next. Have they addressed slut shaming, adequate, inadequate solutions? Have they just had a general impact? What's your take on that?
Well, the Me Too and the Time's Up movement are extremely important movements. However, I don't feel like they've addressed slut shaming at all, which is doing a disservice to the movement. Because as long as women feel more comfortable or safer as a victim, we're constantly going to be putting men at the hands of we're going to be putting them in the place of a villain.
Yeah, you're giving away your power, and yeah, you are vilifying these people.
You know, and Rebecca, you and I both know that there are many women out there who use their sexuality to provoke men. You know, the powerful man or the multimillionaire mogul is a very small percentage of the population. Most men are actually afraid to come and talk to you or I at the bar unless they've had a couple of drinks, because they're intimidated by us, and they're so hesitant to approach us unless we give them some sort of indication that it's going to be received well.
And they're not going to be rejected. And I think the political correctness piece is there too. I've actually had men say, please tell me how to be. I don't know how to be. I don't know how to just be organic and be, you know, charming without coming across as a predator. Nobody wants to be in that predatory role.
No, I don't condone any predatorial behavior whatsoever. But on the flip side, men are wired very differently than women. And the visual is a very real thing for men. As soon as a man sees a beautiful girl walk by in a tight dress or a short skirt, his biology kicks in, his blood rushes right from his head into his erection, and he doesn't have control over that physiological reaction. Yes, he's definitely held responsible for controlling himself and his actions, but we as women know what game we're playing when we turn up the heat and when we wear the sexy outfits. It's not inviting, but we're definitely trying to get attention and provoke a man.
I think that's very well put, because we sort of need to know the responsibility that each side has. And we're visual to some extent too. If you see a beautiful one, that's when we turn around and see if our partner is looking. We don't check that out in our partner, so we kind of know how it works. Thankfully, more and more men are getting involved in supporting those movements. Do you have a real quick suggestion before we go to break, how a man can get more involved in that?
Definitely. Keep an open mind and keep an open dialogue with women, and don't get creepy. And if you see someone getting creepy, come help us.
Yes.
Because we need men. We need their support. We need them to be our allies, our advocates in a safe space for us. So, you know, just ask us. Ask us what we like. Ask us what makes us uncomfortable. If they haven't noticed, we really like to talk, so we'll tell them.
Well put. And most men do want to come and support and protect. So I really want to get that point across. Great information. Our discussion continues after a short break, so do stay with us. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca, a show geared towards making your relationships the best they can be, both in and out of the bedroom. We've been discussing slut shaming with Jennifer Lieberman, a woman who's dedicated the last 7 years of her life to research the subject matter. So she knows a thing or two about that. Now, Jennifer, how did you become interested in this topic?
Well, when I was in my early 20s, I had a boyfriend who would make me feel bad when I wanted to try new things or explore in the bedroom. And he really sent me to a place of shame.
Wow. Well, shame on him, because he could have had so much fun with you. So that's because this sort of predates the stuff that's been happening in the last couple of years. So you're really, truly dedicated to the subject matter.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to other women to see what their take on the subject was and what experience they had with their boyfriends.
And as you spoke with them, were there any commonalities that you noticed? I mean, you interviewed more than 100 women?
Yes, definitely. Most women were kind of made to feel bad if, number one, they wanted to experiment and didn't wait for the man to put suggestions on the table. If you went a little too far with your suggestion, then that would put you in a place of shame. And the other thing is, men were a little intimidated by women who were more experienced or adventurous than them.
That's really sad, because again, you know, you'd think, just like with you, that woohoo, I've hit the sexuality jackpot with this adventurous woman and she's not being coy, but that's really sad. Now, in my book, Sexual Power, I discuss how empowering it is for women to embrace their sexuality and not have others dictate to them how to feel and act. Can you give us a quick comment on what sexual empowerment looks like?
To me, sexual empowerment looks like a woman who is not afraid to go after what she wants, whether it's on her own, in her privacy of her own bedroom, or with a partner. A woman who knows what turns her on, who knows how to make herself orgasm before she waits for a man to write the map for her.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because there's lots of women, they'll say, he doesn't give me an orgasm. First of all, orgasm is not given, it's taken. And then I'll say, do you know how to give yourself an orgasm?
Exactly.
No. Well, how is he supposed to know? It's your body, girl. Go down there, figure it out, and then teach him. Now, through your interviews, did you learn what kind of man is sexy to women?
Like I said before, there is no particular package that sexy comes in. It has to do with energy and confidence. So the same things that make a woman sexy make a man sexy.
I'm so glad you said that, because it's not a body type, but it's the attitude, it's the confidence, it's the caring, it's the sensitivity, and embracing those two halves, as we alluded to in the first segment. Do you have any role models, like trailblazers whom you look up to? You already mentioned a couple.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Madonna. First and foremost, Madonna, do I even have to say why? She's been breaking down the brick wall of what's acceptable for women to express sexually
for decades,
since she came on the scene. Eve Ensler, who wrote the Vagina Monologue, that was a groundbreaking work, and it really showed me a way to talk about sexuality and what conversation was acceptable. And then the last one is Chelsea Handler, because she's brilliant, she's funny, she's slutty, and she's not afraid to say what's on her mind.
That's awesome. You know, it's funny, I did the Vagina Monologues at one point, and the mid-piece that I had was reclaiming the C word as not a pejorative term, but as something that has power and that has attitude. Before we wrap up the interview, any final comments to help women celebrate their sexuality versus being ashamed of it?
Go find out what you like. Explore with yourself. Learn how to give yourself your own orgasms. So when you find a man and partner with a man, you can share yourself with him.
He shouldn't be reading your mind. It's nice if he's reading your body, but I think it's really, really good if you can help him know and take charge, and for men to not be intimidated by that. But I think it's also how we give instruction, instead of saying, okay, you're doing it wrong. It's like, that was lovely, now can we try such and such? So it's
don't be afraid to communicate, because if that is a turn off to him, then you're definitely incompatible, and it's better to know sooner than later.
Sooner than later, absolutely. Great stuff, Jennifer. Thank you so much for all your remarkable insights. I hope it's impacting our viewers. Still ahead, an email on andropause. We didn't forget about you guys, so do stick around for that. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca, geared towards making your relationships more robust than you ever thought possible. So send us your questions, and we'd love to bring you expert advice. Today's question is from Jared. I'm a 46-year-old healthy male who spent his entire life working hard, working out, paying bills on time, and avoiding loser status at all costs. But for some reason, as of late, I feel down, I'm having a hard time getting into sex, feel tired a lot of the time, and I'm having trouble sleeping. My wife thinks I may be depressed. So my question to you is, how do I know if I'm depressed? Because I have no reason to feel that way. And could there be another explanation for me feeling all of this? Signed, Jared. Jared, at a very basic level, depression can include the following 5 Ds: feeling defective, feeling deserted, feeling deprived, feeling a diminished capacity to do things or enjoy what you once did, and acting defeated. Do you see yourself in any of those symptoms? If so, please see your doctor for the possibility of treatment. I know you said you have no reason to be depressed, but depression can be biochemical, not just reactive. And like other biochemical and physiological conditions, it can be treated rather effectively. There's no shame in getting your life back on track. You wouldn't ignore a heart condition, would you? This is no different. Beyond that, you could also be looking at andropause, aka male menopause, as real as the female menopause, but rarely talked about since it doesn't have a clear-cut marker like elimination of periods. But just because people don't talk about it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, or for that matter, that it'll simply disappear. Anyhow, here are some of the symptoms to be aware of thanks to a decline in testosterone levels and an increase in levels of the hormone that actually traps testosterone, both of which contribute to a steady decline in available testosterone, starting at around age 30. There's a decrease in energy, decrease in libido, decrease in memory, increase in erectile issues. So both, hard to get hard and or maintain erections, and people end up having weaker erections. There's an increase in irritability, increase in fat, especially around the midriff and breasts. There can be increased hair loss, lethargy, muscle weakness, sleep disturbance, depression with or without a sense of failure, mood swings, erratic, unpredictable moods unrelated to reality, which lead to relational and psychological problems, fluctuating between feeling lonely and feeling trapped, possible hot flashes with or without night sweats and palpitations. FYI, Jared, you don't have to have all or even most of the symptoms for diagnosis. Just a handful will do. But sadly, andropause doesn't spare much, taking over man's hormonal, psychological, spiritual, emotional, interpersonal, social, and sexual states. I hope I've given you enough to encourage you to go see your doctor. You already took the toughest step in recognizing that you need some help with this. To our audience, if you have any questions of your own, do write us. We love your involvement. Speaking of which, if you enjoyed the show, we'd really like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If we have enough people connecting with us there, we'll be uploading additional stuff that's a little too hot to be aired on TV. Still ahead, sexy tips for taking your relationship to new heights. So stick around. Welcome back to Sex with Rebecca. Now, before we close, we have a very special segment for you to help you take intimacy to new heights. And to help us with that sexy segment, we're being joined by sexy Vanessa Spence from Aren't We Naughty Stores. Vanessa, you brought some goodies with you.
Yes, I did.
Is this new stuff that's being released by BMS?
Yes, this is our new Wonderlust line.
Well, show us what you got.
The first item that we have here is the Wonderlust Serenity. And this is kind of our play on the G-spot vibe. So you can see the G-spot curve. Yeah. Right, right. It's very flexible as well, so it will move with you.
It's not one of those stiff things, okay?
Very flexible, not stiff at all, but it does have, it's very firm. So we all know that the G-spot is a pressure point.
Right.
Right, so it does need some pressure, so it's very firm, very great for internal stimulation.
Awesome. What else
we also have the Harmony here, and the Harmony is our play on the rabbit. So if you need more types of stimulation, this is a really great one. So
this is doing the clit, the outside stimulation, that's stimulating inside.
And the outside stimulation part, it's actually hooded. So what it does, it actually covers the clitoris and the surrounding area.
Oh, that's awesome, because usually it moves, right?
Right.
So it cups it, and the hook is still there, so you're working the G-spot as well. Wow, that's really, you know what I love about Steve and Ida is how innovative they are. I mean, they were doing Aren't We Naughty, they paid attention to what people want and all the problems that come up. So they've come up with some really cool stuff. What is this?
And this is just our bullet. And the Purity looks very cute, very small, but when you turn it on, when you turn it on, the power is crazy intense. And that's because of the Power Bullet technology located inside. And there's Power Bullet technology inside of all of the Wonderlust products as well.
You know, last time that we were looking at some of the BMS products, there was one with Swarovski crystal. It was about the same size, but I was shocked at how powerful it was, and yet it's very, very discreet. You can throw it in your purse.
Exactly. Take it wherever you go.
Take it
Wonderlust, you know, you travel, take it on your travels. The security is never going to know what it is.
Really?
Not at all.
That's kind of good. You know, I got stopped once. I was doing a lecture and I took all these toys, and it was like, what does this do? Why do you have it? Like, yeah, I'm going to hold up a plane with these toys. Seriously? All I want to say about toys is when they say turn off your electronic devices, I don't think these should be included in it. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
No problem.
Really good set of goodies
really
over
amazing
here.
Stuff. Very colorful too.
Woohoo, like it. We're both colorful. This kind of matches. Thank you, Vanessa, and viewers for joining us tonight. Be sure to tune in again next week. And don't forget to email us your questions and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch up on missed episodes, to watch your favorite shows again, and to access some pretty hot stuff that can't be aired on TV. I'm Rebecca Rosenblat, your host, wishing you happy, healthy, and passionate relationships. Until next time.